I'd like to call this meeting to order and welcome everybody here today for our July 14th, 2022 regular board meeting. And Pastor Lee Farmer, would you mind giving us an indication, sir?
Honored to do so. Let's pray. Gracious God, thank you for the blessings and opportunity to be here tonight. Thank you for the blessings of living in such an amazing community. And as we go through this meeting tonight, Father, we pray for your guidance and for your understanding for all that will take place here tonight. In your name I pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Farmer. Pledge of allegiance. Mr. Westpacket, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah, close enough. I didn't see him slip in. All right, our next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Are there any deletions or changes to the agenda? Any board member have any change to the agenda? Mr. Tadlock, you have any?
I do not, no, sir.
All right. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move that we approve. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Our next item is approval of minutes. We have minutes from May the 26th, June the 2nd, June the 7th, June the 9th, and June the 16th. All right, can I have a motion to approve the minutes, or are there any changes in those minutes?
I move we approve them all together.
All right,
Second.
got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. And next, we have a resolution for the Burgess family. Mr. Tadlock, I'll let you take care of that.
Actually, Mr. Bassey's going to read the
Oh, Mr.
resolution.
Bassey's gonna do it?
Yes,
All right,
sir.
that's fine.
He's designated resolution reader.
Okay. Whereas the Burgess family opened Callio Supermarket in 1948, and whereas the Burgess family operated Callio Supermarket for 4 generations under Mr. Paul Burgess, Mr. Robert Burgess, Mr. Bobby Burgess, and Mr. Chris Burgess, and whereas the Burgess family's Callio Supermarket provided great service to the county of Northumberland for 72 years, and whereas Mr. Bobby Burgess and his family realized the need for land to allow for the construction of a park in the heart of Callio as part of the recent revitalization effort, and whereas Mr. Bobby Burgess and his family secured approximately 2.3 acres of land and donated it to the Callio Hometown Community Association for the establishment of the park, and whereas without the Burgess family's generous donation, the search for land to build a community park would be ongoing. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors hereby expresses its deepest appreciation and gratitude for the Burgess family's generous gift, as well as for their faithful service to the county and its citizens over the years. Be it further resolved that this resolution is hereby adopted on this day, July 14, 2022.
All right. We have a motion for this?
So moved.
And a second? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Burgess? Ms. Burgess?
Burgess family?
Oh, we got the families here, Chris and all.
Yeah. Don't come on up here and get a picture.
Come right on up, please. Paper can get a picture here. Mask off, please.
Less than 15 minutes.
Swing it, Mike, get your way if you need to, Lisa. Swing around.
All right. Burgess, you do that, and it's a pleasure to have you here in the county. You've run that store for years and years, which was a great need, and you've always looked out for people in the county. And we're very pleased
thank all the members of the community for all their patronage and support over the years, because it allowed us to live here, raise our families here, and operate a business. And if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have been there for 72 years. And
That's
I
right.
just want them to know that how much we appreciated their patronage and their support. And again, we thank you and we appreciate it.
We thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I would
Yes.
like to pass on some news in regards to the grocery store building in Callio. As of last night, I was told that that store will reopen in the very near future.
Right. Oh, that's good.
It's going to be a combination store, and you'll be able to get groceries and some other household items from that store. So again, if it hadn't been for the Burgess family and their years of dedication, that building wouldn't be there today to continue to serve the community. So that's good news.
Yeah,
It's good news.
And it will be 15 new jobs from that reopening.
Okay,
15
that's good.
15 positions.
That's very good.
There's someone that finished Northumberland High School would be in charge.
Okay,
That's really important.
Yep.
that's real good. I'm glad to hear that. That's good news. All right. Next item is Bonnie Dickinson, presentation of the L. Jean Harding Lifetime Achievement Award.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good
Thank you
evening.
for allowing me the opportunity to do this evening. This was very important to recognize one of our own. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Bonnie Dixon. I am the treasurer for Lancaster County, and I am a member of the board of directors of the Treasurers Association of Virginia. And I am here to present the L. Jean Harding Lifetime Achievement Award to your treasurer, the Honorable Ellen Booker Kirby. She is considered the matriarch of the Treasurers Association. As you know, she served as a deputy treasurer from 1978 through 79, and then was elected as treasurer in 1979. She received her Bachelor of Arts in English in 1977. She received her UVA Certified Governmental Treasurer in 1990 and her Master of Public Administration from VCU in 1991. She has also received the following achievements: UVA Management Excellence Program in 96, Defense Systems Management College, Total Quality Management Program in 92, Federal Executive Institute Executive Leadership and Management Program in 1984. She was the president of the Treasurers Association of Virginia from 1995 through 1996, editor of our Tax Facts newsletter from 1990 through 95, and designer of our Statistical Abstract of Virginia's County and City Treasurers from 92 through 95, which is a great resource for our offices. She was president of the Virginia Association of Local Elected Constitutional Officers from 1985 to 1986. She has received quite a few awards through the Treasurers Association. She received the President's Award in 1991, 1998, and 2002. She was Treasurer of the Year in 1997. She received the Commonwealth Award in 2000 and the Jefferson Award in 2013. Both of these are not given every year. In the words of one of our beloved treasurers, Ellen is quiet and unassuming, but how far does she ever get the job done? I'm sorry. Many years ago, she led a group of treasurers to meet with the chair of the Senate Finance. As they pleaded for more money for their employees, the finance chair told them to create an education program and get it approved by the Commonwealth. Other associations thought that the treasurers would fail, but she set up teams to assemble the program. She received the blessing from the comp board and delivered homemade cheese straws to the finance chairman, and thus our career development program was born. I am so pleased and honored to be able to present this Lifetime Achievement Award to the Honorable Ellen Booker Kirby.
Thank you, gentlemen, for allowing the Treasurers Association and Bonnie Dixon to present this to me this evening. This is a huge honor, and I have to say that it has been my privilege to serve the citizens of Northumberland County for 4.5 decades, and to work with so many dedicated, fine public officials. And thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen.
Thank you very much for all your service.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's my honor.
All right, our next item on the agenda is an update from Virginia Department of Transportation. That's Mr. David Beal. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. We've been busy. We've completed mowing and litter pickup countywide. We've patched potholes countywide, as well as cutting brush with a boom axe and cleaning pipes. We've replaced some driveway culverts on Louisetta, repaired a culvert on Shore Lane, and repaired a washout on Walnut Point Road. We've also worked on signs countywide as well as work orders. Upcoming, we're planning to cut brush on 200. We have drainage improvements planned on Sampson's Wharf and Light Street. And I have the asphalt milling on here. We completed that last week and this week on 360 where the bumps were. And we have some trees to cut down on Blackberry Road, and we'll continue to keep up with potholes and brush countywide. On the pavement schedule, the surface treatment schedule is underway and on pace to be completed by the end of the month. The Cape Seal schedule is under construction. We're waiting for the last surface of slurry to be put down on that. The plant mix schedule, Courthouse Road 201 is complete. Out here in Heathville, that paving is underway. Striping is planned next week, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. The paving in Burgess, we're waiting on the striping there, and the paving on Remo and Whole Neck are also complete. We did the ditching and stonework. I have on here Clarktown Road. I guess it's actually Mega Lane, where it turns towards the end of Clarktown. We did that, and we plan to surface that, hard surface that later this year. The scour projects are still on track. 601 goes to add in December. Construction is planned to start in spring of '23, and 604 and 605 went to add in July, and that construction will start fall of this year and complete in spring of '23. We received a lot of feedback on the paving in Heathville, and we need to do better. And I apologize on behalf of VDOT for the issues that we had there. Some of the issues, some of the concerns I have are the length of time that people had to wait in the queue to get through the flagging stand. With the rain over the weekend, some of the areas where we took up the asphalt, there were some significant potholes that led to flat tires. And I provided the county administrator with a link to VDOT's website for tort claims. So if anybody feels, any citizens feel that VDOT's responsible for damage to their vehicles, please either reach out to me or county administrator, or if you just search VDOT tort claim on Google, it's the first link that pops up. Please file those. There was also excessive dust while they were sweeping, and generally poor maintenance of traffic between the flagger stands while they were milling. I have with me tonight Dakota Clifford. He's an engineer in the construction division, and brought him with me so he could hear any of your concerns. He's aware of these concerns as well. So what are we doing to fix it? Today, traffic engineering came out from the district to audit the work zone, and I'm waiting for that report. We met with the contractor to discuss their role and encourage them to improve and find ways to improve. Next week, I have a meeting in the district with other VDOT staff and industry leaders and contractors on all the pavement schedules to look for ways that we can improve all the pavement schedules. And some of the discussion that we've had internally in the Northern Neck and some of these areas within last year and this year with on 200, that we really need to start, the way we did things 10 years ago maybe isn't the best way to do them now. And traffic has increased over the years, and we need to start looking at some areas to where we consider doing some of this work at night. And I think in the very near future, I'll initiate a discussion with the county administrator and hopefully get input from each of you all as to what areas you feel like would be best served at night, because there's a trade-off, because there are backup alarms and there's noisy equipment, and when houses are right up against the road, there's people that live there are inconvenienced. So there's a trade-off between being delayed during the day and being up all night. But we'd like to get that feedback from the county so we can best serve the citizens and get these roads paved with the littlest frustration as possible. But those are my comments. If you all have any questions or comments or feedback for me, I'd be happy to take them.
All right, board members have any questions, comments?
Yeah, I'll tell you the thing. I had it is, what I went through there yesterday, and I think Luck recalled it, the most mishandling of traffic. Wide as that road is right there, traffic should never really be stopped in either direction. If you can do it on 2-lane highway, keep 1 lane going, you got 4 lanes or more, the width. I mean, it's through town. But I've never in all my years of driving, when I went up to a construction site, I was westbound. They put me all the way over against the curb on the left-hand side, and the other cars going eastbound were on the right-hand side of me. That went on yesterday.
Yeah.
Are you aware of that?
I am.
Have you ever been in traffic yourself when they did that?
Only on a divergent diamond.
I mean, there was no legitimate reason for it.
No.
Today, they had an accident right in the middle of the thing, and the fire and rescue could not even get to it.
Nope.
They were stopped in traffic.
Right, I heard about the accident this afternoon.
Yeah, and they couldn't get there. Todd, one of the young people, was calling on radio, said, we're stopped them in traffic, not getting anywhere. I mean, with emergency vehicles, that could have been the same thing, somebody having a severe medical emergency, a structural fire, anything. And when the fire department and rescue squads can't get through that, we got a problem. But it's just a mishandling. I stayed in that left-hand lane yesterday all the way up to just move to the YMCA building. There's a little gap in between in the corner front of a van, Lehigh van is sitting in Dotlet Road, shot out the Dotlet Road and stopped right crossing in front of me where I had to slam on brakes and sat there. I mean, I don't know who's in charge of these people. Nobody's in charge evidently, because everybody, by the time I go by there, all the Lehigh ones with the white hats on are sitting in the trucks with the air conditioner running. So it's nobody supervising this in the proper way. But there's some dangerous situations when emergency services vehicles can't get through.
No, I appreciate your comments, and we're gonna look into every aspect of what happened there.
I mean, this
and make
is
some improvements.
just, I mean, road isn't wide, road as wide as the road is there. I don't see why they gotta have it all shut down. Completely. I mean, this road is 4 lanes wide or so, isn't it?
Right, it is.
And they're only paving 1 lane at a time. But they got everything shut down. So, I mean, it's really, aggravating. I've always said, I've told you this to you, Lehigh is less respectful to traffic of any construction company I've seen around here. I mean, it's everywhere they go, it's just like that. They do long stretches of road. Like right now, I didn't go up road, I don't know how far they're working on. They got rumble strips out there that are down below the Farm Bureau office, still
Yeah.
there when I come up the road a while ago.
Yep.
Past the farm, but halfway between Farm Bureau and Mid-County Squad Building, they got rumble strips in the road for westbound traffic.
And it wasn't until last year that they even started putting rumble strips.
That's a
Never
new-
seen rumble strips before on a paving operation.
Mhm. The rumble strips are a fairly new requirement.
Yeah, well, the problem is he needs to be in a closer relationship to the actual work.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, we rode through on the way here, and we had some questions, and I said, well, let's go on past the courthouse and see what's going on. And I turned around at the library, so evidently I didn't go far enough to
You didn't
see
go
it.
far
No,
enough.
you didn't go far enough, no.
And you talk about making noise, a rumble strip makes noise. And the one on 200 last year, they kept that in the road after they were through for the day. And it just happened to be in front of my
They
daughter's
still got
house.
signs out down below Burgess, where they've asphalt in Burgess, they still got all the signs out down 360 down there.
And your Burgess paving, when they started that, they had an accident, basically, as soon as they started, they had an accident, I think right in front of Axnecht in the church.
Yeah.
And then I saw there was a state police officer out there 6 or 7 o'clock at night at the intersection of 200 and 360. I mean, as I said last year, I think that people need to go back to traffic control school. I've never seen it as bad, and yesterday I was on Route 3, where they're milling that to pave, and the backup was just as bad in East Lehigh. The product they do is good, but getting to that point is frustrating, it's dangerous, and they had another accident in front of Rose Landing and 360 1 or 2 weeks ago also, and I think that was about the time when they may have been setting things up. But they do, Pat Baber, who's with our rescue squad, I think one time when it was on 200, he counted 60 vehicles that he had to clear so he could even get forward, responding to a call in his private vehicle.
Mhm.
So the queue doesn't exist. And if they take the cell phone away from them, they might do better. Because I saw many a person sit there looking at their cell phone, and sometimes they had to sign backwards from the way it was supposed to be. You're supposed to be stopped and you got slow, or supposed to be slow and you got stopped. It must be the least qualifications to pass that school.
We do have a flagger certification, and they're
Well-
supposed to carry their card with them.
Well, I think they flunked flaggers. They flunked
We'll-
flagging.
we'll
They
check
got
it.
F when they flagged.
And I can tell you, I did ask, when we reviewed this work zone today, I asked them to do one for their milling job in Lancaster as well.
Yes, well, like I said, that was, I don't know how long, and after, I was sitting there waiting for traffic to come the other way, and I think it was 5-10 minutes before anybody came the other way, and I stopped here. This was right around the state shed in Lancaster, right where they were getting ready to start around Pinkersville Road, so.
Mhm.
It was just, and it was raining, it was starting to rain some too, so that was bad for them, but frankly, I didn't care. So the whole paving since last year has been very poor. Again, the product that they do is good. It's smooth and level and all like that. It's not the end product, but it's the process of getting to it that's frustrating for the citizens and themselves. And anybody who's got a little red or blue light to go through.
I understand, and we're gonna keep pushing to try to make it better.
Yeah, I understand.
Anybody else have any comments?
Yeah. So I don't know, I haven't got a whole lot of facts on this, so maybe just rumor. Clark Road,
Clarktown?
am I right?
Clarktown, Clark Lane.
Clark Lane, okay. I understand VDOT has invested quite amount of money into fixing that road. And, I've received a couple of phone calls on it, and some citizens can't understand why VDOT invested thousands of dollars in materials and time in that road for one family, and you will not even take a look at Kitchener Springs Road, and that is used by a whole lot more people.
So I think you're referring, on the secondary 6-year plan, Mega Lane at the end of Clarktown Road is hard. Mega Lane makes a hard left. It's still Route 631. Clarktown changes from Clarktown Road to Mega Lane. And that's one of the existing state maintained roads that's gravel. And so last year when we updated the secondary 6-year plan, the board prioritized hard surfacing Route 631, which I listed as Clarktown Road, but it's actually Mega Lane. And so the work that they saw that was done this summer of additional stone and pulling the ditches, and you're right, I think there is only one house down there. That was in preparation for the hard surface, and that's part of the rural rustic program. That was an existing state maintained road.
You say that's an existing state maintained road.
Right, and then,
What is Kissinger Springs Road? Was that not an existing state maintained road?
yes, Kissinger Springs is an existing state maintained road that was over top of a dam.
Yep.
And the dam blew out, and there's a prescriptive easement there. So the underlying landowners own the land underneath the road. VDOT maintains the road, but there's no more road there to maintain. If somebody puts the dam back, then we will put the road back. But until somebody replaces the dam or replaces the fill section and installs a culvert so that it's not a dam anymore, it doesn't impound water, we don't have a road to put back. And there's several layers of complicating factors with the Dam Safety Act and provisions for that, operation and maintenance certificates. There's a whole nother layer of bureaucracy or permits that would have to go through to get to that point. VDOT is willing to work with anybody that's interested in coming to the table to solve that issue. But we don't want to maintain or operate the dam any more than, say, the county does.
And I understand that, but I think the public is having a hard time understanding that tax money was invested in a road for one family. They don't care about that dam or what VDOT says about that dam. The issue that they have is taxpayer money went into fixing a road for one family. And you don't have any interest in fixing a road that serves several vehicles a day, especially the watermen going to and from their boats. And to fix a road that could actually be used by multiple people. And I understand VDOT's issue to that, but the public don't understand all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's gonna come back around again, so just be prepared.
We're certainly willing to come to the table when whoever's ready to talk again.
Well, that's the same situation up in Richland County, right down at the bottom of 360 as you come up, the road that goes back to Indian Field. That's been wiped out, and that's never been repaired. That's 15, 20 years, too.
Yeah, that's been abandoned now.
Yeah.
How did Chandler's Mill Pond in Westmoreland County get repaired this last time? Did VDOT repair it, or was that done by a landowner?
No,
Game Department, I think.
yeah, Wildlife Resources,
Yeah,
DWR.
Department of Wildlife.
Department of
I'll call them
Wildlife.
Game Wardens, I'll call them Game Wardens.
They've been working on that. I don't know what their agreement is to operate that
Right.
dam, but that's theirs.
And thank you for getting the milling done on 360, I
Sure.
appreciate that.
You're welcome.
That's all I've got.
I've got another issue.
Go ahead.
I saw it Monday, and I've alerted, y'all are aware because you've done some work, but on Jesse DuPont 200, between the two Moradica Road bubbles, you had where it was right up to the edge of the pavement, where that you'd click, but a year or two ago, you had a washout there before, and now you had the same situation. And I'm wondering, is it something that needs to be looked at to avoid, like on 360, right coming into Burgess? I mean, that's the problem. You got these small watersheds that are concentrating real heavy flows.
Mm-hmm.
And when you got these cut and fills, and that cut gets washed out, you're having problems.
Yeah, I don't know what the issue is right there on 200, but we'll check it out.
Yeah, I mean, I saw where today, Todd or somebody had come in there and put some gravel to cover that, because it was right up to the edge of the white line, where you could see. Yeah, so, but I see, that's like I said, you had done riprap 1 to 2 years ago there before. So it's becoming a reoccurring problem. Lancaster got 2 or 3 inches in a very short time frame. Unfortunately, just like that Buchanan situation. Heavy rain in a short time in a small watershed is gonna wipe out your cuts and fills in particular.
There
And
was-
like the one you had up on 17, remember, that just finished, what, 2 years ago, or a year ago.
Mhm.
So those type situations, and that one on 200 there, worst case, if you had to close it for a while, you had to radical church loop. But I hate to see a situation where you could have a major highway, well, like the one down here on Courthouse Road. And that was the second time it's washed out. We don't need 3 strikes. I'm trying to avoid this from being out of a road. And you
Right.
talk about EMS, that's the major road to get into RGH. So,
Okay.
Anybody else? All right. What's the update on the culvert down out to Burgess, getting that repaired? You know, across that 360?
We received at least one right of entry back. So I think we have the landowner permission that we need. The contract's in place. We need to finalize our environmental permits, and then we should be able to go. So maybe later this fall.
Okay.
We keep watching that one, and there hadn't been any degradation. So we've had some other priorities. We did one up on Route 3 in Westmoreland. We had an emergency come up in King George. So that's the next one that we're pushing on. Certainly, the 361 is going to get done, but I've had to shuffle things around a little bit.
but remember, one rainstorm away from that being wiped out too.
I understand.
All right, thank you for getting all these other projects and middling and all the other little projects I had, and also thank Todd for getting all that stuff done.
Sure.
All right.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Dave.
All right. The next item on the agenda is an update from Northumberland County Schools. Do we have a representative here from the school that would like to speak?
We got our communication in writing.
Yeah, I know I didn't know whether they had something else they wanted to say.
Nope.
All right. Our next item on the agenda is the county administrator's report. And I'll let Mr. Tadlock take care of that.
All right, for the month of June, we had a total of 8 new structures. Total construction cost for the month was $4.8 million. Total construction cost year-to-date is $29 million, roughly, almost $30 million, actually. We're approximately $4.5 million above this time last year. Next item I have several supplemental appropriations that I need the board to take action on, and several of these are for fiscal year '22. First one is a motion to approve supplemental appropriation for the Hobbs and Associates for the work on the AON unit in the amount of $24,920 to $4302,3004, and this is a fiscal year '22 appropriation.
So moved.
All right, can I have a second? Second. All right, we got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
And associated with the Hobbs and Associates information on the AON unit, we did receive from Austin Morris with Hobbs and Associates some additional information on work that they were recommending or are recommending. Total price of $7,958. And I'm not sure if the board wants to take some additional time in looking at that, or if the board wishes to proceed forward with that, but that is some additional items that they were recommending.
Your recommendation, Mr. Haney?
Well, you got a hot gas valve there that you cannot check the operation of until you get refrigerant and a compressor back into it. So it's not their fault that it's bad. So I'd just go ahead and recommend that we go ahead and let them do this to it and hopefully get a few more years out of this equipment.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the supplemental.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, If not, all those in favor say aye.
Need another supplemental appropriation in the amount of $1,581.93 to 3102-3012 for VACORP reimbursement for a deer strike on a sheriff's office vehicle fiscal year 22 appropriation.
Move to approve.
We've got a motion, got a second?
Second.
And a motion second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Another supplemental appropriation, line item 3102-1006, in the amount of $175 for a deputy working the prom, and it's fiscal year 22 appropriation as well.
So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, got a motion second.
Is this funding coming out of the county, or is this coming from the school?
That was coming from the school.
Okay. I thought so.
All right, any other questions on that? All right, no other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Another supplemental appropriation for fiscal year 22 in the amount of $5,531.60 to 3102-3012. That's a VACORP reimbursement.
So moved.
All right, got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Another fiscal year 22 appropriations, supplemental appropriation in the amount of $214,786, which is transferring the EMS billing monies to the EMS department to 3203-7005 for the new ambulance.
So moved. Second.
All right, we've got a motion second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Next two items we have is for the electoral board. We have a request to transfer funds from fiscal year 22, which was budget category 1301, 1015, to fiscal year 23, category 1301, 7002, which is the capital outlay line item, in the amount of $13,000. And this is for the ballot on demand system to be used for early voting. And I thought I saw Mr. Schlatter,
He's here.
in case the board has any specific questions on that.
All right, any board members have any questions?
What's the ballot on demand system? I know what some people might think.
I think you're all familiar with the fact that the General Assembly passes laws and then they send them down and the county has to pay for them.
We call that unfunded mandate.
Unfunded mandates. Previously, we have early voting. It starts 45 days before the election. People from all over the county come in and vote at the registrar's office. And in the past, we reported that as one block of votes. So in the early voting, this candidate gets this many votes and that candidate gets many. We're now required to report that by precinct. So we now have to be certain that we give a voter the ballot that comes from their precinct. And what this ballot on demand system is this: we load into this device electronic copies of each ballot. The ballots are coded by precinct, and so when you check in, we get your ballot, we print a ballot for whatever precinct, and you get it. We have been trying to do this by keeping stacks of ballots back in the back room and run back and get one for precinct 3. This will eliminate all that traffic back and forth. It ensures that we got a very valid count of how many ballots we used and that kind of thing. So the ballot on demand means that we don't print a ballot until we need it, and we're going to use this in the early voting system, or early voting precinct.
What's the real difference of having it that way versus the way you had a central precinct? Because if you were doing a district, you were only going to give that district ballot anyway.
Yeah. Well, on election day, we order ballots for each precinct. I think you've all noticed that your ballot has barcodes on the side of it, and those will be coded so that ballot 1, precinct, so on. The difference is that the General Assembly, I don't really understand why they went to that, requiring that we report that out by precinct. but there was some concern that precinct voting was not being reported fully, that the early voting was simply aggregating votes from all over the county or all over the municipality. And that simply is why they went to the reporting by precinct, whether it's early voting or absentee voting.
If it's a countywide office or a district office or a statewide, what difference? But I understand what the General Assembly does, and I understand where you are.
But, of course, for example, last year we had school board and supervisor elections in precincts 2 and 3, so we had to have 3 different kinds of ballots, one for precincts 1, 4, and 5. And of course, another factor that this ballot on demand is going to help us with is you now have another district in your precinct in your district. You've got those 45 to 50 folks who live in Kilmarnock, but who voted in Northumberland County. They used to vote in the town elections in May. Now the town elections have moved to November, so we've got to provide 45 or 50 ballots to those folks that have the town election on it. And this ballot on demand system will do that for us, just as we need ballots for them. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. All right, gonna have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I regretfully move to approve this. I'd like to send the bill to the General Assembly, by the way.
All right, can I have a second?
Second.
All right, have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Nothing against y'all, Joe, but it's just frustrating.
Next item I have is also a request from the electoral board for transfer of funds from fiscal year 22 budget category 1301, 1015 to fiscal year 23 category 1301, 5201 postal services in the amount of $5,700. And that's for the mailing. It's approximately 10,000 voter registrar cards that needs to be sent out. And the redistricting was delayed this year. As you all know, we had sent that information off to the Attorney General's office for approval. We did receive that approval, but due to that time frame constraint, we're not able to get that completed within last fiscal year. So that's why that request is being made.
I move we approve it.
All right, got a motion to have a second?
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Next item I have are the fuel bids. The school division, the county always piggybacks off of the school division's bidding process. And this year, they only received one bid from NWP, and it's for gasoline, diesel, heating oil, and propane, all fixed estimates that they had received.
All right, what's the pleasure of the board?
Any idea why they can't get anybody else to be interested in? Even if they do a variable bid?
I don't know.
Well, it's bid, and it's the only one you got. It's
Yeah.
almost like sole source. I move we follow the school board's approval so we're consistent.
All right. All right, we got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Next item I have is just an update on the Chesapeake Beach Estates grant application. Staff is still in communication with the citizens at Chesapeake Beach regarding the grant that they were looking at. And we are also exploring other options. I know Mr. Marston has met them on site and has been discussing some options with them, and Mr. Basie has also been reaching out to them as well. So I don't know if you all have any questions regarding that or not.
Any board members have any questions, Mr. Tadlock? Okay, Mr. Tadlock.
All right, the next item I have is related to, the county has recently had a situation with commercial tent camping. And I would ask that the board have the planning commission review the ordinance for commercial tent camping and also have staff work with the county attorney to draft proper language to send that back to the commission.
Need a motion from the board?
Need a motion.
I'll make a motion that we have it reviewed.
Second. You second, all right.
Well, Are we
Motion's-
talking tent or camper too, or is it what?
The specific issue that we're having now is related to tents, not campers. But I think as we go through that language, we'll certainly take a look
I
at.
think you need to look at them both.
Both.
We'll talk to the county attorney as well and make sure we have all the bases covered.
Because some people like to live in campers, RVs year round. And they're not designed for habitation that long or the septic scenarios.
Any other discussion? If not, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Last item I have is an update from the Northumberland County Anti-Litter Committee, progress report. They have 4 action items they are working on. Action 1 is promoting the cause of a clean county culture. Action 2 is piloting a tire disposal amnesty event, which the Northumberland County Public Schools, in partnership with the Anti-Litter Committee, received a grant of $4,800 for that from the River Counties Community Foundation. So they have not set a date for that. As soon as we get that date, we'll let you know about that. They're also recruiting for Adopt a Highway programs, and also action number 4 is implementing a Cover Your Load initiative.
The one thing on the Adopt a Highway that I see is, I don't know whose responsibility is, once they put them in the orange bags, sometimes I see them almost fade to yellow. I don't know if that's the local VDOT, I'm not trying to pass it on them, but I see bags that sit around and, that are, become like on, Brown Store Road, I can see a lot of them they were nice bright orange, and now they're almost light orange, so. I don't wanna see the bags deteriorate so much from the sun, that then the trash go back out where they picked it up.
Is that somebody doing community service work, or is that somebody adopting the highway that's picking it up? Because usually VDOT, if they know you're gonna pick up.
They may not know, that
Hey,
could be the
VDOT,
communication issue.
Pick it up.
But I know on Brown Store Road, there's quite a few bags that are sitting out. Now, usually the VDOT, the Adopt a Highway is the orange bag. I think the, community service is a clear bag or some color different, but anyway, I don't know, you don't see them as much. But if it's a question of, maybe that's something to adopt the program, need to have better coordination by them with the appropriate agency to pick up the bags. Because then if you got either VDOT or a contractor coming cutting grass, and they got to stop and get out and all like that.
All right. Anybody else have any comments?
No.
All right, Mr. Tadlock, you have anything else?
Mr. Chairman, I did skip over one item, and that's the remote area medical request from RCC for the $1,500 request. I did reach out to the other localities. I did not hear back from Lancaster, but Richmond County has funded this for the last 4 or 5 years.
Wonder why.
And Westmoreland County indicated that they had not received the request. So
Not received the request?
they had not received the request.
Pleasure of the board. Or is there any discussion on this?
I think we need to find out more about other
What is
localities. Richmond County, it's obviously being based in Richmond County, so they have a great self-interest in it, but
How many counties have approved it? Who has approved it?
As of right now, the only county that has approved it that I have heard back from is Richmond County.
They want 18,000, and that's 15,000, 1,500 from jurisdictions, and they've only got Richmond County, they're a long way from 18,000.
Yeah.
And even if we gave it, they'd only be a sixth of the way through. So if
Well-
Westmoreland hadn't even received the request, that concerns me by itself.
I think we need to wait and see get
Yeah.
some more information.
Yeah.
What would be the advantage of waiting?
We'll get some information on this, for one thing, see if the letter's gone out to any other county besides just Richmond County and us,
In Lancaster.
and
Well,
Lancaster.
even if we request it and, told is not met, I mean, I don't see why it would hurt us. We would go ahead and approve it. What do you think, Mr. Turlock? What's your suggestion?
I can certainly, actually, I can reach out to RCC and ask them who the letters were sent to and what their funding status is of that project as of right now.
We have another meeting next week, so it's
Yeah.
not like we're,
This event's gonna take place in December, correct?
November.
November, I'm sorry.
So,
So, let's table it until next month to get more
yeah, we
information.
can wait next week.
Or table it until whenever, so.
Yeah, we got another meeting on the 20th this month
That's
also.
fine.
All right, Mr. Tadlock, you have anything else?
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, our next item on the agenda is the approval of the check register, and I hope everybody's had time to review it.
I move that we approve.
All right, can I have a second?
Second.
All right, I got a motion and a second to approve the check register. All those in favor say aye. All right, next item is board comments. And we'll start with Mr. Jett.
Not right now, I don't think.
All right. Mr. Tomlin?
The only thing I have is, when I went to look at the commercial peer request we had, and I'm not talking about the merits of it, it's being requested for a commercial application. Now, there is going to be no business, so normally it would not have a 911 system or number. My concern is you have commercial and public facilities that don't have numbers. In case of emergency, where would they necessarily know where to go? Like Shell Landing, obviously this, because you have water activities, and they've had several within the past month or two of boats, people being transported by water to a location that doesn't necessarily have a number. Not all dispatchers know where it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I would ask that the county look at consider changing the ordinance for 911 to commercial establishments that do not have a structure which normally would get a number to be able to be considered a number.
Okay.
So I'd move that we do that, consider that.
All right, we got a second on that then?
I'll second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any other comment on it? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any other comments, Mr. Tomlin?
Nope, that's it.
Mr. Brand?
Buildings and grounds. We got a tree next to the old courthouse with 2 dead limbs. Appears to be a tree next to, behind the EMS station that's dead. This parking lot out here has got grass growing up through the blacktop. The parking lot by the school board office, the now school board office, has got grass going up through the parking lot. It's time for the buildings and grounds to have some TLC. We need to take these things and move forward and get this place looking good. We get complaints on it, and this is easy work. We started out with mulch this year. Evidently, the mulch project's gone. Where's the mulch? And these are easy things. And these are things that should be taken care of. I would like to ask the board, would they support me in going out and see if I can get a partnership. I got a couple, agencies in mind to see if they would help host a Christmas parade this year in Heathville. I'm not gonna make any promises that we're gonna have one, but I'm gonna see if I could seek out a partner. And, I mentioned, I talked to the YMCA, someone went to YMCA, haven't heard back from him yet, to see if we could make that event happen this year. We need to start doing a better job in promoting this little town in the county government.
Would this include, I would support if it include floats from various organizations?
Yes.
Right.
And I know some counties, some departments, when they host them, they do it, I know when Tappahannock hosts theirs, the individuals that put it on, they use it as a fundraiser to hold other events in the town of Tappahannock. So, like I said, I've mentioned this to one person at the Y, and the reason I bring up the Y is because it could be a good fundraiser for them. You know, it could be an entry fee of like $20, and that could be a $20 donation to the Y. But we need people to help put this on, and the Y would be a good group of people. Just talking it loud, maybe the library may be interested in helping it, but I would like to see if the board would support me and see if we can't find a partner to make this work and bring it back to the board and see what can be worked out for this upcoming Christmas holiday.
When you're making an emotion on it.
How's the board feel?
I feel good about it. Long weekend involved the community and give all organizations a chance to have floats, be involved.
Yep.
We need to do that.
Like I said, you know, I want to see what kind of partnership we can get. We need to talk to some more people to see if this is doable. I'm not going to make any promises, but this is something that I'm willing to work on and see if we can make it happen.
Okay.
I know as small as we are down in Galilee, we're able to get the high school band, Lancaster band, and Washington Lee. They're willing. Got local bands that are willing to take part in it.
And, you know, most definitely I gotta talk to Sheriff Beach too. He's got to play a big part in this as well.
He's gotta be on board with it.
Yes.
He would be
Yes.
willing to help because they
Well,
help us every year.
I don't wanna put words in his
Yeah,
mouth, but
yeah,
I
he'd
need
be
to
willing
talk
to
to him
help.
before we
You're
do.
gonna have to
Yeah.
talk to VDOT and get a permit for
Right.
that.
VDOT,
Yep.
get VDOT.
But I didn't wanna start the groundwork if we didn't think it was
VDOT
worth it.
and the sheriff has always been willing to help. in that.
Sounds like when you're talking about a Eastville Hometown Community Organization,
Yeah, well,
association.
we try to do something. You know, I know in the last couple of years, we've got some citizens that come to us and asked us to try to do a little better job, and I just think, put a little more effort into it this year, and let's see what we can do. I'm not committing the board to do anything, this is something I'm willing to try to do with some partnership from outside groups.
All right. Does, Mr. Tadlock, do we need a motion for this, or can we just do it for the motion?
That's up to the board, if you all wish to put it in a formal motion to
You put
move
that in
forward
form
with.
of motion, Jim?
What's the board's pleasure on this?
I would say put it in form of motion. Let's move forward.
You want to put it in form of motion?
That's fine, no.
All right, I'll second it. Any other discussion onto it? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All right, Brian, you have anything else?
That's it.
Mr. Long?
Yes, Mr. Tadlock, I happened to see Curtis washing down the building today outside, and that's good. Oh, we're painting the old courthouse. Oh, we're painting inside.
The board recently approved some CIP monies to do some work with the building. So he has been getting some estimates on some paving around the gravel areas there. So we are trying to get some things together as far as maintenance is concerned for that building. We have not gotten exact estimates for painting yet, but there are several projects that we are working on.
Okay. And also, we need to continue to improve the parking lot outside, close to the building.
That is one of the estimates that he has received as far as that gravel area.
Yeah.
He has received one estimate for the paving of that, so.
Okay. That's all I have.
All right. I don't have anything at this time. All right, next item on the agenda is we need to convene into a closed meeting. Tadlock, do you have the appropriate language?
Yes, sir. I need a motion from the board to convene in closed meeting pursuant to Virginia Freedom of Information Act 2.23711A1 for the discussion and consideration of personnel matters, 2.23711A3 for the discussion or consideration of potential acquisition of real property for a public purpose or of the potential disposition of publicly held real property where discussion in open meeting would adversely affect the board's bargaining position or negotiation strategy. And 2.23711A29, discussion of award of public contract involving the expenditure of public funds, including interviews of bidders or offerers and discussion of the terms and scope of such contract, where discussion in open session would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiation strategy of the public body. Invited to attend the closed meeting as necessary are the county administrator and county attorney and assistant county administrator because they are deemed necessary and their presence will reasonably aid the board in consideration of the topics to be discussed pursuant to Virginia FOIA section 2.23712F.
All right,
I move we do what he said.
all right. We got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be going into a closed meeting in the next room. Now, please keep your seat, or you may do what you want to do.
I move we come out of closed meeting.
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Read that other motion, Malcolm.
Yes, sir. Need the board to make a motion to return to public meeting and certify by roll call vote that only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting, were heard, discussed, or considered during the closed meeting.
So moved.
All right, got a second?
Second.
I got a motion, second. All right. Roll call vote. Mr. Long?
Aye.
Mr. Brand? Aye. Mr. Tomlin?
Aye.
Mr. Jett?
Aye.
Mr. Haney? Aye. All right, Mr. Tadlock, do you have any items you want to take action on before we go into public comments?
Just the three items, to bring Mr. Leahy on as part-time wastewater operator maintenance for the sanitary district.
All right, do I have a motion?
So moved.
All right, got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Need motion for advertising of the stormwater repair bid.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And then I need a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $1,525.34 for the clerk's office.
So moved.
All
Second.
right, got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anything else, Mr. Tadlock?
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, now we'll have the public comment period. Anyone would like to speak, please step up and speak, please.
Hello, Jennifer Packett, speaking on behalf of the Sheriff's Office tonight. On August the 2nd, the Sheriff's Office will be participating in the National Night Out from 5 to 7 p.m. in the pavilion area over by the courthouse. For those that do not know, National Night Out is an annual community building campaign that promotes police-community partnerships. Several agencies will be attending: All County Fire and EMS, the Red Cross, Animal Shelter. Life Evac will hopefully be here with the helicopter, Social Services, Smith Point Sea Rescue, to name a few. We'll have a bounce house and a plan to have some presentations from some of the agencies. I've applied for a Walmart local grant to assist with food and drink costs and door prizes. Still waiting to hear back from the grant approval on that. And afterwards, Chief Packett and the emergency management team is planning to touch a truck for each fire and EMS agency in the county to review each other's apparatus.
What was that date again?
August the 2nd from 5 to 7.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jennifer. Anybody else like to speak?
Good evening, Mandel Jackson. I lost my notes, so I'm gonna wing it. I believe on May, me and Mrs. Sally Conley met with Mr. Tadlock and the concerns of the property down on Rose Landing. Since I retired and moved back home, I'm overseeing that property, and he had met with us and told us that he would talk to Mr. Conway, and a lot of times we come here with issues, but I can coin the phrase, I have a praise report that he promised by June the 4th it will be taken care of, and the job was done excellent, and we appreciate that. I contacted my cousin in New Jersey, and she was very happy to hear that it was taken care of. So I'm very pleased that they took care of it, and we were very happy, and we are pleased that the board of supervisors heard our complaints. And a lot of times we have issues, but I like to give you flowers. It's an old saying, give me flowers while I can smell them. That's an old country saying, y'all know what I'm talking about. So anyhow, I'm gonna give you a praise report, and thank you very much for that. How we work together, we ought to take this to Washington, because they can't do nothing up there. So just want to say thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Anybody else like to speak? Anyone else like to speak tonight? Anybody in the virtual world like to speak? Anybody in the virtual world like to speak? Nobody? All right, since we don't have anybody else like to speak, I will close the public comment period. And now we'll open our public hearing period. Our first request tonight is a request by Jeffrey B. Webster and Willie C. Lynn, owners, for a change in zoning district classification. Is Mr. Webster, you here?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Lynn?
Here.
All right, would you like to say something?
Sure, I have some prepared remarks, if that's okay.
And Mr. McKenzie, you have any comments on this before we open it?
Yes, sir.
As to why they want to change?
Well, the planning commission recommended against the approval for rezoning. A vote was 5-3. They suggested they would like the board to consider adding animals, raising livestock in residential general R1 as a conditional use. Since last year we did that for R2. So they voted against the rezoning and said that we asked the board if they would consider adding animals R1 as a conditional use as well.
All right. Any board members have any comment on that? All right.
So what you're saying, is basically want to add it to a special exceptions?
No, sir. Right now, you can farm in R1, but you cannot raise livestock in R1.
But you can in R2.
Yes, we had the administrative approval.
Right.
If you meet certain criteria, you can. And then if it doesn't meet that criteria, then it goes to the board for conditional
Right.
use.
So you're not even in R1, you can't even apply for it.
Correct. And we weren't, the planning commission didn't ask for administrative approval just to make it a conditional use so that the board can consider it on a case-by-case basis, so they can, each case is different.
All right, board have any other comments? Not, Mr. Webster, would you tell us what you like to do there, sir?
Yes, sir. Would you mind if I just read from my remarks? Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, and for the record, I'm Jeffrey Webster, and I live at 1092 Hall Neck Road in Heathsville. During our hearing with the Zoning Commission, a lot of time was spent discussing incorrect information, straw man arguments, assumptions of spot zoning without evidence or justification, and things only partly related to our request, and then they voted against us. Near the end, several minutes were spent talking about how the Planning Commission wasn't doing much planning, how youth and money were leaving the county, and how they didn't quite know what the people wanted. This all happened immediately after they denied a young couple with money and talent and passion their request. They may have denied us based on a belief that our request would result in spot zoning. I can't say for sure that that was the reason, because nobody ever offered an argument or any evidence in favor of the spot zoning assumption. In any case, I believe they would have been wrong. Our request does not meet the test for spot zoning because we are not asking for zoning out of character with the nature of the property, and our property is not similar to the adjoining properties. That is, we are unique amongst our neighbors. Furthermore, there's no detriment to the surrounding properties, and rezoning does not undermine the rights of anybody that lives around us in this case. Finally, there's a precedent in the area. 9 properties within a close proximity to ours are already zoned A1, and the 10th is split between R1 and A1, and that last property actually adjoins our property. The 2016 Northumberland County Comprehensive Plan goes to great lengths to establish the importance of maintaining the agricultural character of the county and discusses the irrevocability of converting agricultural land to high-density residential land. Our request exactly meets the spirit and intent of the comprehensive plan. Per the USGS soil survey, our property contains 100% prime agricultural land, another factor which lends weight to the argument that our property should be A1. To fail to take this opportunity to protect further prime agricultural land is to fly in the face of the stated objectives of the comprehensive plan and the established policy of the county. The chairman of the Zoning Commission expressed his doubts about our ability to support our stated number of animals on our land. However, our approach is based on animal husbandry best practices, most of which are published in accordance with Virginia Tech research and the Extension Office. Even at the most conservative, even with old-fashioned estimates, our land would support as many as 75 animals that average about 160 pounds. Per the USGS, our parcel of land produces, at a minimum, 120% of the mean crop production of prime farmland. Combined with a careful system of cover or forage crop rotation, seasonal grazing, and stockpiling, our land will easily support 40 to 50 small ruminants. With respect to poultry production, that's an entirely different construct, which I'm happy to discuss at a later time. At present, suffice it to say that the objections to the number of poultry present in our notional plan, those objections were based on a lack of understanding of the mechanics of our plan and a gross overestimation of the impact of keeping a few hundred birds. The Zoning Commission mentioned that if we sell, there's no guarantee that a hog farmer won't buy the place and create a nuisance. This is a straw man argument. It's creating a non-existent problem in order to argue in bad faith. Furthermore, intensive livestock operations are covered by an entirely different zoning classification. The property is simply not large enough to support a large number of animals on a commercial level that could potentially rise to the level of nuisance. And other entities within the government are responsible for ensuring the humane, safe, and reasonable animal husbandry practices. There are control mechanisms in place, and bad faith arguments about hog farms should not even be considered. We ask for something in good faith, and it's equitable to be considered on the merits of our request. Furthermore, if we're forced to consider the hog farmer argument, even in bad faith, I see no reason why I shouldn't be allowed to present a counter argument, and that is that R1 zone land is always subject to subdivision and further development. The danger of a developer splitting up my parcel and putting in a subdivision is just as great as any fairy tale hog farmer. Northumberland County's population is shrinking and getting older. Those are just the facts. We aren't attracting youth or small business owners or people with money who will invest in the local economy. On our present course, in short order, our county will be nothing but rich people on the water and empty properties inland, with shrinking property values. This might be to the benefit of a handful of monoculture crop farmers, but that's about it. We came here to Northumberland County to make our best effort at starting a new enterprise, to raise dairy animals on a small farm, to put out high-quality products while participating in the local economy. And if you deny us, we're simply going to leave. Finally, it's decidedly in the county's best interest to allow our requests and requests like ours for a simple reason. What about horse owners? Northumberland County would present an attractive alternative to regional counties where good horse land is already at a premium. Case in point, our neighbors just down the road were unable to complete the sale of their house because the buyers wouldn't be allowed to keep horses there. Horse people have money. They want acreage. They need to buy hay and tack and feed. They need veterinary care. They want to build barns, buy trucks and trailers, and host events. With trepidation, I say that sometimes the county seems to have prejudice against people coming in from the outside, buying land and demanding changes, and I understand that. I grew up in a small town, and I understand that we want to keep things a certain way here. However, without a fresh population infusion of people with money, there's not going to be much county left in a few years. And the county leadership should realize that one of the principal goals should be to make Northumberland County attractive to potential newcomers and not just keep it the way it is for all time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
I have one question. You mentioned something about a recent rezoning application.
I'm sorry?
You mentioned something about a recent rezoning application in the area.
The instance I mentioned was a neighbor of mine just down the road. She tried to sell her house and had a cash deal. And when the buyers found out that her land was R1 and not
You
A1,
mentioned
they backed out.
early in your presentation.
About the horse?
No, not there. It was about adjacent property owners, half of the property, whatever.
I mentioned that there are 9 properties near to us zoned A1 and that a 10th is split A1R1 and that it borders ours.
All right,
Yes, sir.
that's all.
All right. Any other board members have any questions? Mr. Webbs, no other questions at this time, and I'll open the public hearing.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'll open the public hearing on this. I have a few people here that signed up. The first one is Lindsay Rose.
Hi,
Hi.
Lindsay Rose. I live 319 Sutton Avenue, Reedville, for the record. And I typed mine because I don't do public speaking very well, so bear with me. I'm here today to speak about Jeff Webster and Lily Lynn. Lily and I actually met in the fall of '99, a long time ago, at our first year at UVA. We became fast friends, and we've done the math, 23 years. It's a pretty long-standing friendship. 1999 was the first time I brought her here. This is how she found Northumberland, was because of me. I brought her home for fall break. She dubbed it Dawson's Creek, like the TV show. And even back then, as kids, she saw the beauty in this area and like how awesome it was. I grew up here, so I was a little more jaded, kind of like, yeah, right, I hate this place. But she grew up in Falls Church, so it's a totally different world. Small town life, small town nonsense. But she saw that it was really beautiful. I mean, she's been all over the world. She lived in Australia for a while because of her job. So she has traveled this world way more than I have, more than probably most people in here. And so she's seen quite a bit of the world. When she met Jeff, they got married. He was still in the service, and they moved to the Netherlands. I thought, that's it. She's going to be an expat. It's going to be a plane ride away for the rest of my life, but she'll be happy. It'll be fine. Imagine my joy and surprise 4 years later to get an email from her asking if I knew anything about the property at 1092 Hull Neck Road, of all places. Like, who in the world? And so I looked it up, and it looked like a farmhouse. And I knew they had chickens and stuff in the Netherlands, but I didn't really know what they were up to, what their plan was. And when they actually flew in to sign the papers on the property, we met up at Newsom's for lunch. I joked and told them we were eating at their neighbor's place. And they told me their plan. Like, after being a service member in the armed forces for years, he was being discharged, and they wanted to start a new, like, part of their lives. They kind of liked the country living they had done in the Netherlands. They had chicken stuff, so they really wanted to operate like a sheep and goat dairy farm. I thought that was awesome. The property looked amazing. It had all these fields that were currently actively being farmed by Kenny King, and the listing on the property said suitable for livestock. That to me means I can move here and bring my livestock, because that's what the real estate agent said. Now, should they have checked themselves? Yes, but when a real estate agent looks at you and they're a trusted professional with a reputation everyone knows, and says it's perfect for livestock, this is the place to be, yes, she knew their plan and said, yes, you can do it here, that'd be perfect. I mean, yeah, they didn't check themselves, but at the same time, they were trying to move from overseas in the middle of a pandemic. I mean, and someone is telling you that that's okay. I don't know anybody in this room who wouldn't have taken her at her word as a professional and just gone about their business. Fast forward to the Planning Commission last month, I think they got it wrong. I looked at the members and they seem like nice people, and I know some of them, but they don't have any like sort of specialized knowledge about building and zoning and implications of zoning changes. So I feel like that means that, okay, when you have things coming up for your meeting, you're notified, you should...
Got 1 minute.
Okay, you should do due diligence and investigate. They did not. Half of them didn't even look at the packets until at the meeting. That is not, as a citizen of this county, that makes me feel really, really upset. Like, they're not even taking it seriously enough to do their jobs. So then they're gonna turn around and tell them, I'm sorry, you're gonna invest your life savings in this business, and you can't do it because you're R1. Now, I know you guys are probably gonna say the solution is like a special exemption granted from you guys, but think about it, would you really invest your life savings and all the blood, sweat, and tears into a business from scratch on the promise that you won't ever take it away? I mean, you guys might not,
15 seconds.
but at the same time, you guys might retire, or you might not get reelected, and the next people could very well take it away. So offering them a special exemption to run their farm really isn't the way to go. And I'm out of time, and I know that, but I really think the Planning Commission got it wrong, and you guys are here to make it right. And I really hope you do. Really.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. The next speaker is Jeff Webster.
I said what I wanted to say.
I know you already said that. The next one is Angelina Maniac. Maniac.
Actually, I'm Maniac. As you said before, my name is Angelina DeRosa Maniac. I live at 415 Main Street. I guess I'm an 8-year-old come here. Been here about 8 years.
Pull your mic down some.
Okay. So I'm here to support Lily and Jeff in their attempt to rezone their farm, which is 18 acres, mind you, with a farmhouse inland, to rezone it agricultural. So my husband and I have an oyster farm. It's called Sapidus Farms. We raise happy oysters. I'm sure you all are aware that one of the big issues for oyster farms is runoff. One of the great things about Jeff and Lily is that they're doing preservation practices. They're using organic farming. They're also moving their livestock. The plan is to move their livestock from one place to another. So it doesn't deplete the land, but it improves it and preserves it. So that alone will protect watermen. It will mean that pesticides aren't running off into our water, into my livelihood. But they're so inland, it doesn't affect the water, let's be honest. The other thing is that they're a great asset to our community. We have a naval man and a businesswoman who has helped my husband and I personally with our business, just on the side, just out of kindness, to help us with our marketing. That is such an asset to our community. I see so many young couples, just like myself, move into this area and leave just as fast because they don't have the support that they need from the community, from the board. And they're already providing support to other people and to other farms. This is an asset we want to keep in Northumberland, not shoo away. Now, the other thing that Jeff definitely spoke to is he has 18 acres. The next person might create a hog farm. That would be kind of smelly, I'm sure, which they're not planning to do. But the other option is they could be overdeveloped. I came from farmland in Maryland, gorgeous community. I jumped fences to my neighborhood, my neighbor, my best friend, she had a horse farm. It was amazing. I go back to visit my friends, there's no fences. I mean, there's privacy fences with McMansions, but there's no more farmland left. And it is the saddest thing to see. That's why I'm here in Northumberland. That's why my husband's here in Northumberland. We love this community and we love the farmland. The last piece I'm going to say is that food accessibility is an issue. We have Food Lion, but we don't have another grocery store. We drive 20 to 30 to 40 minutes. If we had a farm here in Northumberland that sold us good quality meat, as well as good quality produce, that is an asset to our community. To be able to drive, to be able to walk, to be able to ride your bike down the street and to buy that meat that you know is being taken care of. Mind you, I have been to their farm. They take very, very good care of the animals they already have. That is an asset, and I encourage you guys to make the right decision and to rezone this property to agricultural. It's 18 acres. Like, what else are you gonna do with 18 acres? A few McMansions? Maybe, but I'd much rather see a few, sheep, maybe a couple chickens, maybe my dinner in the future. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, we don't have anybody else on the sign-up sheet who'd like to speak. Does anybody in the audience like to speak? Anybody that'd like to speak on this particular issue?
Good evening. My name is Philip Haney, and I don't know this couple, but I'm in agreement with them. The greatest thing is for young people to come to this county. And I've always said that this is a great place to live, but a poor place to make a living. And if we don't start today attracting young people and give them something to come back, we're going to be a desert town. I know there are a lot of people who don't have to earn a living in this county, and their checks come. But there's still people like me that have to put on my boots and get my hands every day to work to support my family. And we don't need to be closing the door on these people, because Northumberland has been a farming and fishing and forestry community all of my life. So I don't know them, never talked to them, but just listening from what's going on, we should support them. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to speak? Yes, please.
Once again, Mandel Jackson. So what's R1? I'm not familiar with the new zoning laws y'all got now. Now, let me go back. When I left here, we had raised chickens and pigs, but now we zoning that we can't farm like we did back in the, okay, I know what the deal is now. Back in the 70s, 80s, so when Northumberland County had changed, yeah, I lived away in Maryland, but I came home regular when my parents were living, and down Front Hill, so come home, help daddy farm, stuff like that. But I see a change. I see the pig hog farmers leaving, the chicken farmers leaving, so they said, well, David, they can't raise pigs no more because the Bay Restitution Act. I got that, I understand that, pollution. So you mean tell me this was a farming country, area in North County, but now we got a zone to have livestock? Can you explain that to me, somebody? So I'm kind of confused, but they're trying to raise chickens. And I was planning to do that, but now I don't know now. I really don't know. I'm not getting that many, but you told me I gotta be zoned on my farm to raise, and I got 100-some acres, I gotta be zoned to raise 3 or 4 chickens or something. I'm confused.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Anybody else like to speak? Anybody else like to speak? All right. Anybody in the virtual world like to speak? Anybody in the virtual world like to speak? Nobody wants to speak? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll close the public hearing. And what's the pleasure of the board?
This is my district, and I met Jeff, nice young man. And I'm going to move that we grant his request to rezone to A1.
A1. All right, we got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Is there any other comment on this issue?
Well, I'll comment. Obviously, there's been some comment of spot zoning. If you look at the zoning, there's A1 and R1 all around it everywhere. And I'm not sure, didn't look into the history, but I can imagine when the airstrip was put in, that was appearing to be farmland, but was cut up. And part of that, by the zoning map, they're lots, but they're zoned A1.
Mm-hmm.
So there's inconsistency in zoning and usage right off the bat. But there's an old saying, if it looks like a duck, talks like a duck, and walks like a duck, this is 18 acres of open land that has been farmed. I say it should become farmland, A1.
All right, anyone else like to comment? If not, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those against? Motion passes. All right, our next item on the agenda is a request by John M. Deal, owner for conditional use permit to construct a commercial pier on property zone R2 residential waterfront. Mr. Deal, do you have any comments tonight?
Roger's gonna do it.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Roger McKinley. I live at 691 Mill Point Drive in Eastville, Virginia. Actually, it's called Remo, but nobody knows where that is.
I do.
I do.
Tell me.
I do.
A lot of us know that.
I'm the resident, I'm the agent for Mr. Deal. We submitted an application some time ago for some shoreline erosion protection and for a private pier. As I began to speak with Mr. Deal about his future plans for the area, it became pretty apparent that we needed to change the designation from private, non-commercial to commercial for this dock. Mr. Deal and his two sons are both registered watermen. They have a license, all of them do. The adjoining properties from this property all the way down to the creek are either zoned commercial or industrial. Mr. Deal and his family represent probably 3 or 4 generations of watermen, of fishermen in this area, and this family is really no exception. Let me look at my notes to make sure I don't forget anything. Last week, or the beginning of this week, we took this project to the local wetlands board, and it was unanimously approved by that board. I spoke with the engineer from Virginia Marine Resources Commission, and he is getting prepared to issue his permit for this commercial pier also. This Deal family has just been in this neighborhood for so long, and they have such a great reputation. I would really respectfully request that you approve their request for this commercial designation for this pier. And I'll answer any questions you all may have.
All right, any board members have any questions for Mr. McKinley?
That's the same lot your dad owned.
It adjoins that lot.
It joins that lot.
It joins that lot, yeah.
Everything else, Mr. Judd?
That's all I know.
Any board members have any questions for Mr. McKinley before I open the public hearing? No one has anything?
Not me.
All right. Mr. McKinley, maybe after the public hearing?
Pardon me?
Maybe after the public hearing on this, we'll have some questions for you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. I only have two people signed up. Mr. McKinley, you've already spoken. Mr. Deal, you want to have anything to say? All right. Anybody in the audience like to speak on this particular issue? Anybody like to speak on this particular issue? All right. Anybody in the virtual world like to speak? Anybody in the virtual world like to speak? All right, since we have no one else wants to speak, I'll close the public hearing and the matters before the board.
Mr. Chairman, I move we grant this request as presented.
All right, we got a motion and a second.
With the proposed conditions.
Conditions? Mr. Marston, would you mind reading the conditions?
Suggested conditions, if approved, are that all required permits and/or licenses shall be obtained from all appropriate regulatory agencies, including but not limited to the Virginia Marine Resources Commission. All exterior lighting shall be non-reflective and directed downward, and the commercial pier shall be constructed as shown on the revised joint permit application dated May 18th, 2022.
Understand.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any other discussion on this issue? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any against? Deal?
Got it.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, our next item on the agenda is a request by Philip Haney II and Judith Haney and Philip Haney III, owners in the Community Power Group, applicant for a conditional use permit to allow a utility-scale solar energy facility on property zone R2 residential waterfront. All right, do we have any, Mr. Haney, would you like to speak tonight, or you have someone from Community Power here to speak for you?
We're here to speak. Yeah. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Rachel Boots, and I am a licensed civil engineer for Community Power Group, the developer working with Mr. Haney for this project. And I have a little slideshow. I'm not sure who's controlling it. Okay, great. So I'm just going to go over some of the details of the project specifically, and also some of the key factors that we at Community Power Group make sure we design and prepare the community for, as this is, I believe, one of the first projects since you guys just newly instituted your solar code. So the first slide shows our project layout. It is 26 acres inside the fence. The fence will have what's called single access trackers. They track the sun throughout the day, so they're oriented east to west, and they move very, very slowly with the sun to efficiently absorb solar rays and create electricity. This project is 5 megawatts, which is enough to generate power for almost or more than 1,200 homes, and a carbon equivalent offset of 10,000 tons per year. This power can also be used in the county because it's a community solar project, so people are able to subscribe to get this clean energy. The next slide shows two really important design considerations when you're developing any land, and particularly for solar energy. We want to focus on emergency access and fire safety. So as required per your code, and a standard that we like to instill at Community Power Group is training for first responders that's conducted on site. On site before operation starts. We also, the Virginia Department of Forestry has resources on their website with recommendations for what they call fire-wise ground cover, which is local grasses that do well in dry or normal soils. We also designed the panels so that the rows of them are spaced so that vehicular access is able to go through all of the panels. So that's 11 feet spacing between each row of panels. We also have corridors at 16 feet, so that's 2 vertical corridors and 1 horizontal corridor through the facility to allow access. And then the last safety measure is we have a 20-foot buffer around the entire facility between the fence and the panels that would allow vehicular access around the entire footprint. Another concern, and also with this coastal community, is the impact of development on the downstream watershed. We've done some research, and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers also has researched the impact that solar has on hydrology, and has shown that the most important part is the ground cover. In stabilizing the ground cover beneath the solar panels allows stormwater runoff issues to be non-existent. So we use pollinator-friendly native grasses, similar to what I was just speaking to with fire-resistant practices. So that helps stabilize the ground. As well, the Virginia Department of Environmental Quality has passed some new measures that require offsetting solar development with BMPs or other resources, such as like a dry swale or a grass channel, which our site plan has ample room around it to install one of those practices downstream of the facility before it leaves the property. Next slide, please. So these are some images of what I was just talking about, the pollinator-friendly ground cover. Also, at Community Power Group, we prefer and are proposing to use what we call game fence or agricultural fencing. It's more aesthetically pleasing than a big chain link fence, fits the nature of the community, we believe, and that would be you can see the wood posts and then very thin wire mesh. Provides the security that's needed for the solar facility while allowing the flora and fauna to pass the border of the fencing. We also would plant a double row of staggered trees, evergreen trees, so that the facility is screened 365 out of the year. At planting, they're 4 to 6 feet because that's what's available at the tree farms, and then eventually they would grow to completely screen the facility is the intent. 2 other concerns that you may have are glare and noise. So we do extensive modeling to ensure that those impacts would not be detrimental to the surrounding community. The first point on the left side is glare. So we analyzed glare potential from all of the roads surrounding the facility, and there is no glare. Effectively, what that does is the FAA has a modeling program, and with the single axis trackers, which follow the sun, and the non-reflective coating on the panels, it would be the same as someone's home window. There's not going to be glare from the panels because the panels are there to absorb light, not reflect light. Noise on the right-hand side is generated by the inverters. The inverters, one, they shut off at night because it's a solar facility, so it's only active during the day. And they also have a 65 decibel level, and that decibel level goes down as you distance yourself from the inverters in the facility itself. So we've studied and also have a study presented on here that shows that at 64 feet, the decibel level is effectively 29, which is the same as a quiet rural area at night, not including other barriers of noise such as the vegetation that could help absorb some of the noise. Specifically for this site, the closest non-owner resident is 340 feet away from the facility, so we don't expect an impact of noise to anyone in the surrounding neighborhood. This last slide I think is also really important because we wanted to touch on how many projects the county could expect to see in Northumberland County. So what is on the right-hand side of the screen is a screenshot of Dominion's hosting capacity map. It's a resource that's available online that we use to check when We're also looking for good sites. It shows that blue line coming up from the Lancaster substation. That line is a 22.4 kVA line, and that is the only line that the Dominion hosting capacity map shows as Dominion owned in Northumberland County coming up from Lancaster. So what Dominion also does is they publish a quarterly report on what projects have applied to connect to that line. We are project D, so you can see I've labeled project A, B, C, and D on the screen and totaled them. So project A is 3 megawatts, project B is 3 megawatts, project C is 3 megawatts, and then project D is 5 megawatts, which is our project, which is a total of 14 megawatts. So Dominion caps the capacity at 70% of the line, which is the 15.68 I've listed there. So these 4 projects will essentially fill the capacity on the existing infrastructure. So we're thinking that we would be effectively the last project. Although I don't know if you've heard the other projects, those are on the Dominion Q report, which is available online. We may just be the first ones to apply for a permit. So that sums up our presentation, and now I'll have the owner say a few words.
Good evening, and thank you again. My name is Philip Haney. On September the 14th, 1867, my great-grandfather, the Reverend Robert Haney, was the first African-American to buy land in Northumberland County. We currently own this land and still operate it. It has provided for our families ever since his initial purchase of this land. And I say that to say that we are a family that believes in land ownership and land purchase. We love our land, and we look at the best use for the land. If I thought that this solar project would be harmful to the land or to the area, we would not be here tonight. I plan within a year, our house burned on the farm, to go back and build my house on the farm. So I will live closer to this project than anybody else. The other thing that we need to look at today, I was in Warsaw and I saw Richmond County trying out an electric school bus. We need to think down the road. Electricity is coming, whether we get on the train or get left. The other advantage, we know this farm, my farm, is right on the creek, on Ways Creek. It will help the water quality by me taking this land out of production. I don't know whether you realize that we put as much on corn as 100 or 150 pounds of nitrogen. When we have these 5-inch rains like we do, it's no way you can control some of that nitrogen, some of those pesticides, and some of those things from getting in the water. We do the best practice available, no-tilling, split applications, but at anything we do, there's nothing will handle 5 or 6 inch or 3 inch downpour rain. So I think it benefits the land, it benefits the water quality, but the big thing, I want to be able to continue to farm. And as you know, with global warming and all of these other trends, this will provide our family with an outside course of income that will help to stabilize us and make us financially feasible. Because as you know, like this year, my nitrogen costs and all of my input costs did more than double. And there's a real risk. If your input costs double, it's costing over $600 an acre to plant corn, and we have droughts. You can't stay in this business. And I would rather have a solar farm than trying to develop this land into lots. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. Any board members have any comments
No, I have some questions.
or questions?
From yourself. On the panels that you're gonna have, how many are you gonna have per particular load? Is it gonna be 1, 2, or what?
It's a single row, it's not a double row.
Because I've seen double and I've seen triple.
We're doing single row.
Okay, that's number one. The fence that you're talking about, how tall are you thinking about putting that?
The detail we have on the plans right now is a 7-foot fence
Okay.
with 8-foot
Yeah.
wood posts.
Yeah, because deer need to be higher than 4 feet, they'll drag their legs.
Yep, 7 feet.
All right. When, if approved, when might construction start?
Gonna defer to Mr. Burkowski here.
Yes, so if approved, we, as a company, would be ready to go, sometime in spring, once we got through all the drawings, next spring. Our fear is Dominion's gonna be a little slower than we are. Dominion is super slow on digesting the interconnects and everything, so we're really at their mercy as far as when they can get it done. So it'd be sometime hopefully within a year of the spring.
Because I know you've mentioned about the erosion. Well, I know Mr. Brand knows it very well. There was a project up in Essex County that caused a little problem with a creek called Muddy Creek, and it got a whole lot muddier after the rain.
Yeah.
And my concern is making sure that the ground cover is in place prior to the winter non-growing season.
Got you, interesting point. Yeah, so that, you're suggesting that happened during the construction time is when they had the issues?
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
And they also have had a lot of fires up there within the place.
Got it. Yeah, so, two things. One, yeah, that is a practice, and we would be working with Mr. Haney on having that established ground cover for a number of reasons. It works well. What I'll say is, in addition to that, within the last year, Virginia has made a lot of changes in their stormwater management, and has made, my personal opinion, gone a little too far, but to your benefit. So there's a whole new set of standards that people have to live with on the water management side.
All right. Mentioned about being a community, people in community getting electricity.
Yes.
How does that work, and especially when you've got Dominion Energy and Northern Neck?
Yeah.
How can you go from Dominion to Northern Neck?
It's a great question. We get that question all the time. So it's a community solar project. And the way community solar projects work is we have a meter on the facility that is virtually identical to the meter that you have on your house. Yeah. Except the meter on our facility, instead of spinning to the right and creating a bill, it actually literally spins to the left and we create a credit. Yeah. So at the end of every month, we have a giant credit. And what we do is we then allocate those credits to subscribers. So somebody may call us, say they have a bill of $400 in the winter or whatever. That subscriber would say, hey, we want to subscribe for $300 worth of credits. They have to, the law was just passed last week, there's a $55 minimum bill that is applicable to any non-low-income member of the community. So low-income members don't have a minimum bill, everybody else has a $55 minimum bill.
Is that on top of the transmission costs that Dominion and or Northern Neck add to it?
It is, I think that's in, I don't know the answer to the top of that.
I've seen people doing the credits, and they had everything, only thing they had was the transmission was lower than $55.
Yeah, so it's your bill has to be $55, and then everything else you subscribe for a credit to offset that, right? And so in that example of $400, they subscribe for a $300 credit. And that credit usually is somewhere, in established markets, it's 5%. In less established markets, we have to induce people more, so we may go 10, 15%. So let's just use the 10% example, where we sell those credits at a 10% discount. So on your next Dominion bill, you'd have your $400 bill, then there'd be a new line item that says, community solar energy credits, -300, and then they would have a cost of solar energy credits, and it would be $270, which is representative of a 10% discount. Therefore, you would have gotten a 30% discount on that bill and be a supporter of renewable energy.
All right. On full, clear, full moon nights,
Yes.
do the solar panels generate power?
No.
Well, I've seen somebody that said it did. It
Yeah,
was very small, but they generated.
They'll generate a tiny amount. In all fairness, it won't, in our facility, it won't be enough to trip the inverters to send it back to the grid. So.
All right. What happens when you, during the day, bright sunny day like today, and the power Dominion lines are down? Trees broken the lines. What happens then?
So we are putting, so depending on a bright sunny day, right, wherever that cutoff is in the grid, there is the potential that we would have fill the wire in the uncut off part at that point and just be able to supply that localized component of the energy where we're at.
All right. I looked on your map trying to find the locations. The only thing I saw was Northern Neck. I didn't see anything that specific. Can y'all send to the board more specific locations than that?
Of this map?
No, of those A, B, C, D projects.
Yeah, the ABC, the D is us, so you know exactly where that is. The ABC, we can absolutely, yeah, we have the exact lines.
I can imagine we might be getting some questions real quick.
Yeah, because those are the only projects that can happen in this. I don't know if you want further clarity on how that all works.
No, I just
Okay,
wanna
but
know
those
where
are
the
the only
locations are.
projects in the list that can happen, and then the capacity is full.
All right. That's all the questions I had, Mr. Chairman.
All right, one question, with Tommy's question of, if the power lines go down,
Yes,
you're still generating power,
yes.
and, you know, say you're only using 2/3 of your power,
Yes.
where does that extra power go?
So the extra power, it still is filling that line to the extent that there is capacity inside that line, which there would be for us. But it's no different than, for instance, in a power plant, right? We have a giant, power plant up the road or whatever, and that grid goes down. That power plant's still generating electricity, right? And so it's still going up into the system. And basically, within that system, there's grounding wires, right? And there's release wires, so to the extent there's too much electric, it dissipates. So it's the same safety mechanisms that they use for any large facility, and I can't explain the exact dynamics, but they have safety mechanisms in there to bleed the electric, just like they do with a large facility.
All right, what happens when we would have a tornado or a hurricane coming through here?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So you'll remember in North Carolina 2-3 years ago, there was the big hurricane that came through, and it made a lot of news because North Carolina has a ton of solar in it, and those solar farms did amazing, and there was like a limited number of panels that were even disrupted by hail, because these panels are designed to withstand 3-inch hail. Which is, a pretty big event. And in that situation, we have insurance, obviously, that covers that. The other nice thing is that these panels being single access tracker, they have weather mods in them. So to give an example, somebody asked about height before. I'm pretty representative of a solar panel. It's about, the height here, and it just kind of goes like that throughout the course of the day. Right. When there's a storm coming, it goes into storm mode. And in storm mode, it adjusts based on however that storm is going to react so that it can withstand much higher winds. But these are installed, like the way they go into the ground, they're posts that get hammered into the ground. And what we do is we do all sorts of pull tests on it so that it can withstand like 165-mile direct wind through the pull test before anything would even be remotely disrupted. So the point of that is hurricanes really tend not to be an issue. Hail above 3 inch can be an issue. And a direct hit on a tornado could be could be an issue. I'm not saying that it wouldn't be, but those items are explicitly covered in insurance.
All right, so your wind load on a panel would be
Yeah, I want to say it's 165 miles an hour with a
165
sustained wind, yeah.
wind load, okay.
Yep,
All right, and 3-inch, up to 3-inch hail.
big hail.
All right, how about the vegetation that you have in there? I think you said it was gonna be some sort of flower or something like wildflowers that grow or?
Yeah, it's called pollinator-friendly cover.
Pollinator-friendly,
So that
alright.
it is supportive of an insect
All
population.
right, so you really don't come in and do any cutting, you just let that grow, die back, grow and die back?
Yeah, for the most part. So what happens is for the first 3 to 4 years, while the seed mix is taking hold, you do have to do, a mowing throughout the year because the weeds will come through. And then by the 3rd or 4th year, the actual seed the pollinator-friendly population crowds out the weeds and it grows.
All right, now how dangerous are those panels when someone is in there mowing?
Yeah, all that voltage that's there is the same voltage as, it's low voltage from panel to panel.
And that's DC voltage?
Yeah, that's a DC voltage.
DC voltage to the inverter
Until
that
it gets to
converts
the
it to AC?
inverter, then it inverts, yeah, it inverts at still a relatively low, voltage until it gets to the transformer, which is the thing on the pad, and then it steps it up to the voltage
That's a
that's
step-up
on that
transformer
wire.
there, yes.
Yeah, and so those wires are, for the most part, in this situation, they're buried underground. So all you really have exposed is the wires that go behind each panel, and those wires are less than a toaster oven. The toaster oven can give a good shock,
Oh, yeah, you get a
but
big shot.
it is lower than that.
110 a day.
Yeah,
Alright.
it's lower than that.
What happens when you have a fire in one of those panels? They could be, say, lightning struck the panels in there.
Yeah, so you've heard some stories in Virginia where there have been fires from a panel getting struck. Those were not properly grounded. So if they're properly grounded, you don't get, any type of large fire going on in these systems. So it's really a building inspector-oriented thing to ensure that they're properly grounded. But I know that localized fire here wasn't properly grounded. And so, but to further that, let's say there is a fire. There's a couple different things that we've done. One is Virginia, we had put the slide together where it's like the Fire Safety Commission had put out a certain ground cover that is fire resistant, as they call it, quote unquote fire resistant. But it is a ground cover that stays green with some level of hydration such that it's more of a fire retardant than a weed that grows out and can, be more prone to fire. And then there is also, of course, all the safety access and the lockbox, and our operations manual is something that we go over with both the police department and the fire department to ensure that they know what the systems are, what the transformers are. We give them a whole pamphlet so they're familiar, with the electrical situation.
All right, now the panels, they are constructed out of what materials?
Yeah, so
And what's the lifespan of a panel?
Yeah, so we get warranties on them for 35 years. So they have a really long lifespan. They're aluminum. They have a glass-like structure on the top. And then in the middle is the wafers. There's no harmful chemicals in it whatsoever. You hear about something called cadmium, which is in they're in thin film solar panels, which is made by First Solar, an American company down in like the southwest area, First Solar. Those panels are not used in the mid-Atlantic or the Northeast. They are used in desert-like conditions. These panels do not have cadmium or anything like that inside of them, so there's no harmful chemicals in them whatsoever.
All right, these panels are made in U.S. or foreign country?
They will be U.S. manufactured.
Okay.
At the end of the day.
All right.
Yeah.
That's all the questions
I
I
have
have.
one more question.
Yep.
The decommissioning process, what has to be done I know, obviously, you're talking 35 years, you haven't decommissioned anything yet, but what would be the decommissioning process of basically deconstructing what you constructed?
Yeah, so the decommissioning process is these, at 35 years, the panels are still producing at somewhere between 80 and 85% efficiency, so they're still 80 to 85%. They degrade 0.5 a year. So there is redeeming value to them. What's happening is some older panels today, 20, 25 years old, are actually getting shipped and recycled in South Africa and some other places where they're being used at a very cheap level. But those things basically just get, taken off and put in a truck, taken it away. And then the racking is steel that can be recycled. And then the way the pole gets removed from the ground is you drill a hole right through the top of it. You put a hook on it and you lift it out, no different than we do in a pole test to see how much pole it takes to.
They're not concreted in?
No, they're not concreted.
They're just straight pile driven, for lack of a term?
Pile driven in, that's it.
How deep do you put them?
Yeah, so when we do our pole tests, what we do is we send somebody out there and we do about 8 pole tests on a field, depending on the soil. If the soil is a bit more ubiquitous, we'll do less. If it's much worse, we do first soil samples to figure out all the different soils are there. We pound it into the ground, and we also, before that, we take core samples to see what any type of chemicals there are in there that might cause rust or other types of things, and address that accordingly.
Bedrock, etc.
But then we pound it in, you'll do 6 feet, do your pole test, 8 feet pole test, 10 feet pole test, 12 feet pole test. My guess is around here, we're gonna be around 7 or 8 feet.
Anything else?
The only question is, obviously, the total project will be 26 acres.
Yes.
And it's 5 megawatts.
Yes.
That's a lot of acreage being chewed up for what appears to be a small number of megawatts in the real world. I mean, we just had a zoning to change to A to keep farmland, and this is taking out farmland for this.
Yeah. So it's great. I have a couple good answers for you right there. First of all, it's about 1,200 homes, so a little over 1,200 homes. So it's not an insignificant amount of homes that it's providing electric for.
How many electric cars would that serve?
Oh, gosh.
I mean, that's the next thing. Everybody's wanting electric cars.
So this will produce, 1,200 homes. How many cars? I don't know exactly.
I know, it's just,
what
it's a
the
question.
storage ratio is. But I'm going to put the words, I was permitting a project in Illinois, and there was a farmer of 10,000 acres, and the local community was giving him hell because, it was like, you're taking farmland, the solar is taking over the world, and it was like, it's a really uncomfortable situation, to be honest. And he got up there and he said, listen, he goes, I rotate in and out, mostly corn and soy. And he goes, I put that corn in the ground, and I got my truck out there, I put the corn, I fertilize it, I gotta water it, I gotta do my thing, the end of the year, I pull it out, I dry it, I do all this stuff, and then 70% of it goes into ethanol, which then goes into your car. And he goes, I got like $250 an acre to do that. He goes, with solar, he goes, I'm getting a lot more money to do that. And why? Because the sun shines, it goes into the panel, directly into the wire, and in today's electric car world, it goes right into your car. And so it's just a much more streamlined, valuable way to get energy to a place we're going to use it.
That's all for right now.
Anybody else have any questions?
Yeah. You were talking about grounding of the panels.
Yes.
I understand that, the grounding and lightning strikes, but solar panels also present other issues. As you presented as a solar panel.
Yeah.
The wires running down the tube, as the panel moves, the wires move on the tube and they chafe. I've experienced this, and they set fires.
For the what?
The wiring harness coming down the tube that holds.
Our wires go underground.
All wires underground, so nothing strapped to the tube.
Yeah, nothing except this, we're not doing we're not doing, some people will do the rails behind the panels.
Okay.
That's not in this
So it's
project.
nothing, okay.
And they've actually changed that over the last couple of years, so they have like, a carriage system, like you used to see when, we had all the wires in the building before we had Wi-Fi, and they had more of a carriage system carrying those. They're starting to do that with more plastic-oriented wires. But these, in this situation, we're going underground.
Okay, and at the end of the day, who is gonna have ownership of this? Is this a Dominion site?
So this will be a community solar site, so Dominion will not own this site.
Okay,
They are
so-
owning the other 3 megawatters that are up there. Dominion will ultimately, Dominion has done the law such they basically have to own those.
So it'll be sold?
What?
It'll be sold, because usually when Dominion's not involved, these solar sites get sold. They get passed along.
It'll be a large utility is who we are.
On-site monitoring or off-site? Where would the monitoring take place if you have a fire or some type of malfunction in the solar panel? Where will
Yeah,
that
so-
go?
Yeah, so these things get monitored in strings down to 27 panels.
Okay.
And so when we can see if one of the 27 is out, you can see it online kind of immediately, it flags.
Okay.
And you say, oh, go out to this one, there's an issue.
So where's the headquarters for that site, for the monitoring site?
California?
California?
It could be anywhere,
Okay.
but it wouldn't be in California.
Okay, so but it's nowhere close.
It's not in the immediate area, no, but we would have a maintenance identified, inside of our maintenance plan, we have those types of things identified. For instance, if there is a maintenance issue, a fire issue, there's certain sensors and everything that would pick that up, that immediately would trigger a notice to the fire department. The fire department would be well versed and briefed on, all the safety precautions associated with the solar facility. Plus, we'd have local maintenance and a local electrician that are, hired by the entity as, come out immediately and take care of this.
So what is local?
Local is local, like, as close as we can get that somebody here that is versed in the area, for sure.
What kind of certification or licensure would they need to be able to deal with a 5 megawatt plant?
Yeah, a lot less than you would, so, a lot less than you think. There's 2 types of voltages. There's the medium voltage and the high voltage. The high voltage is the transformer, and that is going to be one electrician, that's a high voltage electrician. The medium voltage is everything else. And that's no different, it's an electrician that obviously is specialized, but similar capabilities to what's happening at your house, because it's a very similar level of voltage.
When you said someone would come out immediately, what time frame is that?
It's
Immediately could be within the next 5 minutes,
yeah,
next 5
I would
hours,
expect
next 5
it'd be
days.
similar to if you had an electrical issue at your house, how long it would take to get an electrician.
Next
at your
5
house.
days.
Probably faster than that. Actually, let me tell that back, because if it was anything like the guys I call, that would not be satisfactory. But we would have somebody on staff, somebody that is, being paid to be available in the event that there's a problem.
They're on a retainer, in other words.
Yes.
That was my question, what I had. What do you have, who operates this? Once everything's up, said it's approved, up and running and going, who is the closest person
The local
connected to this?
electrician is the closest person.
Who is?
The local electrician that we have on retainer is the closest person. It all gets monitored remotely, because you see everything
Well, I mean,
remotely.
you saying local you talking about VEPCO or Northern Neck? Do they
Yeah,
monitor?
whoever we end up hiring locally.
I mean, say I had a problem, I had a fire there,
Yeah,
who would be the first one to respond?
the local electrician. So you gotta remember the other thing, like, one thing that's beautiful about electric, right, is electric, if there's an issue, because you get a variation, you get a surge or whatever it may be, a drop in the electric, and then it comes back up. Any type of issue, you get a little, jolt of electric. And just like the circuit breaker at your house, where, there's the tiniest little thing that goes wrong, boom, the circuit breaker trips, and that whole piece of the house is shut off. Same with the solar. Like, if there's any little fluctuations or anything like that, there's all sorts of safety switches throughout that solar facility. So the second you see a fluctuation in the voltage, boom, it's shut down. Local electrician gets their email or their text message that says, hey, number 65 just tripped. You got to go out and look it up. And so it's sitting there dead, not doing anything at that time. So, and then they know to come out and say, okay, what's wrong? Why did the safety trigger on this? And what do we have to do to, get it back up online?
All right, any more questions? No more questions at the time? All right, thank you, sir. Maybe we'll have some more questions for you in a little while. All right, I'll open. You want to hold for a minute?
Well, it's his district.
What was that? All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to open the public hearing tonight. Our first person on the sign-up sheet is Mr. James Penny.
May I remove the mask?
Yes, sir, you may.
Thank you. My name is James Penny. I live at 125 River Hill Road in Heathsville. The concerns that I have with this project is that our neighboring county, Lancaster, just recently released their revised ordinance. And when you compare our ordinance to their ordinance, I can understand why Community Power wants to be here and not there. I think the ordinance needs to be reviewed because they go into things like, excuse me, required decibel levels. They mentioned 90 during construction, if I recall. Is that correct? Yeah. On the slide, there was a decibel rating of 90.
65 and 64 feet.
Okay, but there was also one. Okay, all right. But what I'm saying is that during construction, Lancaster County has a decibel rating as well as the operating decibel rating, which is similar to what they've got, which I don't have a problem with. The other problem I have is the utilization of a waterfront area, which Lancaster has verboten, for solar farms. And I have to ask the question, that's interesting. Why would they do that? What do they know about it that we don't? Taking into consideration, they mentioned that there's no cadmium, but there is silica in the cells, correct? Okay. Silica, I'm not a chemist. I'm not a design engineer. I'm not a specialist in any of this, but I have fears. We had one hurricane here a couple of years ago that spawned 3 tornadoes, one of which was very close to this property. And I'm saying, okay, we're talking about a aluminum panel that is basically on a pivot point. Even though it may go into flat out horizontal weather mode, that's fine, well and dandy. But is a tornado going to pick those panels up and throw them into Chesapeake Bay? Now, I was very interested to hear, because nowhere in the detailed information that I was able to find did they go into any details about how the panels are adhered to the ground. And I was very pleased to hear that they're going to be 7 or 8 feet deep, because with some of the rains that we get and then followed up with a wind, I can recall Isabel. Why did so many trees go down? Because we had several weeks of rain before Isabel came through, and trees fell like flies. So these are the type of things and concerns that I have. I think our ordinance needs to be reviewed before this is approved. That is all.
Thank you, Mr. Penny. All right. Next person on the sign-up sheet is Ann Thomas.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Again, my name is Ann Thomas, and I've spent my career as an educator, as I understand you have, and I still am doing contract work for the University of Maryland Eastern Shore School of Education. So I'm still out there working. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on the opposition to the application before you this evening. I believe that I've provided you with a copy, or you've been provided with a copy of my written comments, but tonight I would just like to highlight some of the critical reasons I believe we need to deny this application and some thoughts for moving forward. First, let me say that I am fully in support of responsibly planned green energy options, but I oppose, as the other speaker, any variance in the R2 waterfront residential zoning that would allow a solar plant to be built on the proposed property or any other similarly situated properties in the county. No matter how you dress it up, a utility scale solar facility, sometimes called a solar farm, is not agriculture. It's a power plant. It's industrial. And as we've heard, the panels for this one are going to be extra large in order to generate extra electricity. My husband is a native of Dorchester County, growing up on a farm, which is currently in a conservation easement program. Our careers have taken us away from the area for a period of time, but we've owned a home in Reedville for the last 20 years. After several years of planning to return full-time and searching for our forever home, we recently purchased one in the Inland Harbor development. Our choice was made because of the beauty and the charm of the quiet rural area surrounded by water, small communities, and farmland. This is what Northumberland County markets to potential home buyers and tourists. The road less traveled. That's the Northern Neck slogan. Scenic beauty and history preserved. If we had known that a year later we would have a utility scale solar energy plant directly across from the entrance to our development, we would have never bought the property. I believe, and I hope that the board supports, that true green energy solutions do not involve destroying farmland, forest, wildlife habitat, or residential communities, especially in sensitive waterfront areas. Energy companies may find this area attractive because of the lower development costs, but local government will hopefully have the wisdom and will to guide this type of enterprise to rooftops and commercially or industrially zoned property, not rural agriculture. I feel strongly that the proposed site is an unacceptable choice for commercial enterprise, not only because of the R2 waterfront designation that will negatively impact the quality of life, home values, and tourism, but also because of the negative impact in converting farmland and forest forever into acres of solar panels.
You have 15 seconds.
How green is that? Excuse me?
You have 15 seconds.
Okay. Then let me just say that I believe that before anything is approved, that it's critical for the county to go back and revisit the comprehensive plan to ensure that solar is addressed in a thoughtful and forward-thinking way, and that the codes, as the other gentleman indicated, need to also be reviewed so that you're not having to be reactionary, but that you would put a moratorium on this solar application and any others until you've had an opportunity to get ahead of the game and have a plan to operate from. And I thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, next person on the sign-up sheet is David Thomas.
This is just a continuation of the Thomas family.
All right.
Anyway,
Yes, sir.
I want to thank the board for allowing me to appear here, and you'll find out that, number one, I'm certainly not a public speaker. But I'm a native, as my wife said, of the county. My parents raised Angus cattle. We farmed. I worked on the water. I worked at the board fish boats in the 60s, so I'm pretty aware. I've been back here for about 20-some years, and I love the area. There's nowhere, in my opinion, that's any better to live. As we exit Inland Harbor this past year, the crops there were either, I don't know if it's canola or rape or one of the two, but they are absolutely some of the most beautiful when in bloom that a person could see. There were tourists, there were local people that stopped there, took pictures of it. I cannot imagine that anyone is going to stop there, tourists or local people, to take pictures of solar panels. I just can't, I can't see that happening. We had said that, I guess one of my main concerns is that tonight you were asking the representatives from Dominion how they were going to do this and numerous other things. It would seem to me that there would need to be a comprehensive plan to dictate to the power company what would be done, rather than the power company saying, this is how we will do it. That's sort of like the cart before the horse, I would think. And just in closing, the only thing that I could say is, with a little levity here, I can't imagine any tourist saying, come on kids, let's get in the car. We're gonna go to Reedville and look at solar panels. I can't see that. I don't think it's in the best interest of the county nor the people, and I can't see how this, he said, helping underprivileged people, gonna reduce their electric bill somewhat, but I can't see how this is going to benefit the county nor the residents. And I certainly want to thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. All right, our next person to speak tonight is Gary Boyce.
Hi, I'm Mrs. Boyce, and Gary had a cochlear implant inserted 2 weeks ago. They haven't turned it on yet. So if you have any questions for him, I will relay what you're saying.
Yeah, it's hard for me to, I only got one ear now, and that's bad too. So, my name is Gary Boyce. I moved here permanently in Northumberland County about 11 years ago now. And I used to live up in Maryland, and I worked for the Army Research Laboratory where I was a senior researcher. I was involved with bombs and explosives. That's why my hearing went. But anyhow, I grew up in an area up northern part of the Chesapeake Bay. When I was a child, water was clear, crystal clear. They had a lot of seaweed. A lot of you guys who are old know that. Down here was the same way. So when I retired, I wanted to move someplace where I was going to be content. And I looked at this county from some other friends I knew lived down here. And I bought land, and I struggled, and I built a house on Captain's Way in Reedville here. I support the Chesapeake Bay Act Foundation. I feel that our government has placed money in so many directions. They placed money in the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, was being fought for this state by our congressman, Mr. Whitman, or Senator, or Congress Whitman. And we got money this past year to help the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. But also the government is throwing money now into the green technology, which I support green technology. However, there's other issues the government's throwing at us is climate. Temperatures rising. Glaciers are melting. Sea levels are coming up. But basically, we have funding to support the bay. And I feel that this technology of green is so new and being pushed so fast that maybe in the future we're going to be sorry for ourselves. And I say that because we don't know what this is going to affect the climate. We don't know what's going to affect the environment, the habitat of wildlife, the habitat of human beings. We have other issues in the technology of solar panels that hasn't been talked about, but it's EMF, electromagnetic fields or electromagnetic waves that they say, gee, it's not going to hurt anybody. We don't know that for sure. There's not enough research into it yet to understand the full effects of EMF. We have to be cautious, not just for us, but for our future. And I feel that strong about the Chesapeake Bay
30 seconds.
is more important to me at this point, and that's why we moved down here. We wanted to get away from the crowdedness of Maryland, and we came down here to Northern Neck. But like I said, this is 3 hammers being brought into us. Which hammers do you want to pick? I think that this hammer on solar panels is in the wrong location.
Time's up.
Because you're fighting the other hammer.
You're done.
Huh?
You're done.
I'm done.
Thank you.
Okay. Boy, that was fast.
Time went fast, didn't it?
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, next person to speak is David Chili's. David Chili's.
That's enough.
No one here now? All right. Anyone else like to speak? I have no one else here signed up. Anyone else like to speak? Please come up if you do. Come on up, ma'am.
Hi, Angelina Maniac again. If you didn't remember, it's half man, half yak. I'm actually getting up here. I'm obviously a water woman, so I have an oyster farm. As Mr. Haney, the other Mr. Haney, commented, is that he's actually pouring lots of nitrogen into the farmland that's right off the water that does run off into the creek. So I feel like the solar panels are a great option to, cancel that out. I also really appreciated all the questions the board has had for him, because just where it's been manufactured, what type of chemicals are going to be used, and if they're going to be using the local community and employing the local community. 2 things did come up during everyone talking. The first one is, I feel like, I'm not sure if you were aware, but the local fire department's all volunteer. So one way to maybe offset the risk of fire is to maybe create or donate enough money to create 2 full-time employees at the local firehouse. Or, and the second part of this is, as big business comes into Northumberland, is there a way that we could require some percentage of that revenue that's being created go into our education system directly? Whether it's towards teachers, like increasing their salaries, or just some sort of, there is risk bringing in solar panels. There is risk bringing in big business, but if you're able to offset that with some benefits, I think it would benefit everybody. And also, Mr. Haney should have the freedom to, use his farmland as he wishes to a large degree. So thank you guys for your time again. This was fascinating, by the way, so thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anyone else like to speak? Please come up, please.
Hi, my name is Debbie Gibbs. I'm a longtime resident of Summer Haven Drive, which is off of Old Fairport Road across from the farm. And I am not going to speak negatively or positively about this project at this time, but I would like to bring a point of consideration for the board and for Mr. Haney, as this concerns the private road that goes alongside the project. Currently, there are several farm vehicles parked there, which are rather large, which are necessary for his farming business. And I just hope that the board would take into consideration to work with Mr. Haney on perhaps not trying to compound the clutter or the mechanical effect of the appearance of the land, of the people that are because the people that are traveling on Fairport Road do see that, and I would just hope that's a point of consideration for this project, that they could work with Mr. Haney on relocation of those vehicles to another part of his farm.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, anyone else like to speak? Anyone else like to speak tonight? Anybody in the virtual world like to speak? Anybody in the virtual world like to speak? Nobody? All right, I will close the public hearing there, and I'll put the matter before the board. Does the board have any other questions or anything?
Chairman, I would like to carry this over till next month. I have gotten a lot of information. Some of these same people paid me visits this week. Get y'all have emails, a lot of information absorbed in the last 48, 72 hours that I would like to investigate, check out for some solutions and ideas. So that's why I'd like to carry this over till next month.
The 20th?
No, next month.
You talking about next week or next
Next month.
Next month.
And I second Mr. Jeff's motion.
All right.
And I would like staff to look at and compare Lancaster County's ordinance to see what they're doing, and also check with other county ordinances to see, because more ideas on this situation, the better. And also ask our county attorney, can these conditions be made to run with the land, to be a part of the deed if necessary? Because I'm concerned about the surety bond being maintained for decommissioning if it were approved.
All right. We have a motion and a second here to carry this, to carry this public hearing, not public hearing, but this matter here to our August the 11th meeting. All right. Any other comment on this? Any other board members? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those against?
Nay.
All right. Motion passes 4-1. All right, that's all the items we have on our public hearing tonight. The next thing on the agenda is I would like a motion to carry over to
I got something to do first.
Hey, go ahead.
I'd like to send it to the planning commission for one thing, the livestock raising, farm of livestock, that the R1 have the same, obtaining for permission be the same in R1 and R2.
All right. That's your motion.
It's set. You understand what I mean by that? So, and the next one I'd like to see is send to the planning commission to look at these commercial COLA projects, not be allowed in R1, R2, just for commercial property or what, or just investigate the zoning. We had nothing to do with this one that we are now, but for the future. It's an interesting article. I don't know how many, I guess y'all all get it, that Virginia Economic Magazine. There's an interesting article in there last month about property, how it can be, you can lose, devalue of some of your properties with other things being factors in it. Solar panels is one of them, the climate warming is one of them, the rains and all, but it's a very interesting article in there, how cities, and they use Miami Beach for an example. The value of property on Miami Beach is going down because of storms and all that, and the inland property is going up. But they don't know if it'll equal out or not. It's very interesting to make some references to different things. When you start trying to bring a commercial activity right in the middle of your residential areas. So I'd just like to revisit that too.
Mr. Tadlock, do you want that in one motion or two motions?
If we could do that in two separate motions, just so we've got it clear.
All right.
Already did it, didn't it? One motion. Yeah, put that in a motion also.
State your first motion again, please.
First motion was to revisit the R1, R2 qualification to why they're different and to get them both under the same roof.
All right.
But the qualification for R1 and R2 would be the same for farming with livestock.
All right, do I have a second on that?
Second.
All right, have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
But Tommy had some add-ons to that too.
No, you're fine.
You got
Okay.
it? All right, no other discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Second motion, please.
Send it back to the planning commission to look at the location of these commercial solar products, considering to not be allowed in R1, R2.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, have a motion to second. Do I have any other discussion? Anything?
No, I'm gonna make a motion behind his.
All right. All right, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those against? All right. Mr.
My
Tom?
motion is ask the planning commission to look at whether solar farms of whatever size, the utility should be permitted, allowed in R2, residential waterfront.
Okay.
It will not affect this application because it's already before us.
Yeah, this one would be grandfathered on.
Yeah.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion on this motion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those against?
Nay.
All right, we have a 4-1 vote on that. Anything else? All right,
I move that we continue over to next week, the 20th at.
August 20th.
No, July.
July the 20th.
July, I'm
You
sorry.
skipped a month.
4:30.
Skipped a month.
At 4:30.
4:30.
4:30.
Yeah.
All right, I have a second.
Second.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ladies, gentlemen, thank you all for coming tonight. And you're more than welcome to come back on July the 20th at 4:30.